What's up, everybody? My name is Aaron, and welcome to the Mad Maker Studio. Welcome back to 80 Days. That's the game we're playing. It's the game where I talk super fast and way too much. There's a lot of reading. We are 100% not going to make our 80-day goal. We've only got 5 days left, so this will be the last video that I'm going to be posting on YouTube. I'm sure I will come back to play it in my free time because there were several routes and options and things that I did not choose. But that's the beauty of games with replayability. You can replay them and experience something new every time. We decided to head into the interior of the continent with the Panamanian dynamite blasters. Unfortunately, their escape plan involved stealing one of the steam shovels from the canal dig site and riding it all the way to Tabatinga. A desperate plan, but this was day 75 and we were growing desperate ourselves. Let me describe the theft of the steam shovel. It was hardly an elegant affair for my part. I offered what help I could, a practical decision. The quicker the theft, the quicker our journey could begin. They put me on lookout duty, a lucky thing too, as Gesner, the Haitian crew leader, decided to take a midnight stroll with his lady friend in the middle of our little adventure. I signaled the Panamanians to the danger with an owl hoot, and they hid until Gesner and his tall lady friend retired for the night. I settled Monsieur Fogg upon the steam shovel, and we loaded our bags before they started the engine. We rode out of Panama City with our boom swinging free, destroying buildings and creating an unholy racket. The dynamite blasters, as their profession indicated, were not masters of stealth. We were gone before the Haitians roused from their beds. Still, I do not think we should return to Panama City soon. Perhaps in a decade or two? Oh no, our health is deteriorating. As the day progressed, the dynamite blaster stripped the steam shovel of its winch bucket and any other extraneous parts to speed up our journey. Belisario, one of the blasting crew, tried to remove the roof of the cabin, which would expose my master and me to the elements. I protested heartily, and they acquiesced with a grumble. We did not reach Medellin that night and had to camp under a copse of trees. At least we were under cover. Two Europeans seen stealing steam shovel in Panama. Well now, the journey is proving more tiring than I expected. Matteo, the youngest of the dynamite blasters, disappeared overnight. Shuffle's mouth set in a grim line, but he did not seem overly concerned. As we passed through the town of Medellin, we found him collapsed in front of a bar, clearly worse for gin. Shuffle kicked Matteo's shin irately. Take him with us or leave him here. We put it to a vote. The remaining 4 dynamite blasters split evenly, with Shuffle voting against. He looked at me. I voted to keep him, and Monsieur Fogg followed suit. Your heart is too soft, Shuffle grunted. Vano, the only black member of the crew, picked Matteo up and tucked him behind the engine block, giving me a grateful smile as we rode away. It was day 76. We had barely 100 hours remaining to return home. See, we're not gonna make it. There's no way. Tabatinga free from telegraph lines. We made good time to Bogota. The steam shovel's wheels rolled easily on the cleared trade routes. Eduardo was the only dynamite blaster with any engineering skill and kept a close eye on our stolen fuel reserves. We have just enough, he determined. We do not want to run out of fuel once we cross into the Amazon jungle. I have heard stories, I confessed, of enormous black snakes which eat men whole, of tribes that eat human flesh. We'll go with the snakes. The anaconda, yes, Eduardo shrugged casually, as if man-eating snakes were unremarkable to him. A suggestion from one friend to another: do not go swimming in the Amazon River. I could not stop thinking about the Amazon rainforest. Our journey had been uncomfortable so far, but I could not help but think it was about to take a turn for the truly dangerous. We abandoned the group of Bogota. Leaving camp in the middle of the night, surely we could find a much quicker, safer transport to the capital of the United States of Colombia. There's no way. There's no way. We're doomed. We're done. The heart of Bogota was Bolivar Square, named for the man who had won Colombia's independence from Spanish rule. A bronze statue in his likeness looked regally towards the Palace of Justice before. Zut alors, turning to regard me with frank opprobrium. I maintained my outward calm. I waved at him weakly. I waved at him weakly, at a loss for how else to respond to apparition. A Colombian woman tossed a peso at the statue, and it caught the coin with an audible grinding of gears. It is mechanized, she explained in deliberate Spanish. Do you not have automata where you are from? Not statues, I allowed. Generally, we prefer them to be still. Still as a statue, even, I joked weakly. How dull, she remarked. Clearly you are a traveler. Are you staying in Bogota long? I depart as soon as possible, I replied, looking around with clear distaste. She gave me a considering look before running back to her waiting companions at the edge of the plaza, no doubt full of tales of my uncouth foreignness. I examined the statue more closely. At the base of the pedestal, there was a winding mechanism which no doubt powered the statue's mainspring. Every now and then, a child or giddy tourist would turn the handle or toss a coin into the statue's ready grasp. Simon Bolivar's bronze eyes seemed to follow me as I left the square, and all the way back to our lodgings, I blamed my fanciful imaginings and my tiredness. No doubt our long journey was taking its toll. I browsed around, my ears open, learning the options for how we might proceed. Not even looking at the stats, we're just see where we can go. We boarded the regular shuttle service to Caracas from the city center. Our transport was Anhinga, a tram-sized mechanical bird with jet black metal feathers and a curved wooden beak painted a lurid yellow. A double row of 12 seats were riveted to its back, and our luggage was suspended below its vast boilers. I closed my eyes as we took off. I leaned forward as we took off, eager not to miss a moment of our flight. The Anhinga's engines rumbled to life. It leapt into the air smoothly and beat its powerful wings. The buildings of Bogota gave way to lush greenery. The dense forest of the Amazon rolled away to the south, an ocean of shadowed green rippling into the distance. We pulled northeast, but it was almost evening before the Atlantic Ocean and our destination came into view. Caracas. Did you know one can travel aboard an Anhinga from Caracas to Port-au-Prince, but the fare is very high? Freetown. Yes, my childhood sweetheart had quite an adventure aboard the Maquia from Caracas to Freetown. Porto Novo. Here's the scuttlebutt. Some buyers will pay well for oilskins Suesters from Porto Novo, but tell me, do you muse much upon death, Passepartout? Sometimes. Yes, I do. Rather too much, I think. Port-au-Prince? Do tell me more about Port-au-Prince. I know that the last bank in Port-au-Prince has closed. Is there a route from Port-au-Prince to Havana? I'll say only this. Some buyers will pay well for tobacco from Havana. Is there a route from Port-au-Prince to Auckland? I'll say only this. Some buyers will pay well for oilskin Suesters from Auckland. Whilst I'll cut Captain Mendez a new deal. What a marvelous idea. Freetown? Wherever that is. I've heard Freetown welcomes those who were once slaves. Is it possible to go from Freetown to Belém? Here's the thing I can tell you. There is neither bank nor market in Belém. Is it possible to go from Freetown to Dakar? Yes, one can fly aboard the Dahomey gyrocopter from Freetown to Dakar. Goodbye. Not going to San Francisco really hurt us. We landed softly in Caracas as the sun set, a hydraulic hiss and spit of gears as the Anhinga's engines began to cool. I leapt acrobatically from the bird. Full of cheer and vim, I turned to Monsieur Fogg in delight. Can we do that again? I think we're past the point of no return here. Most we can hope for is to go Freetown, but that's gonna bypass our 80 days. There's absolutely no way. So why don't we make our last day at Port-au-Prince? We took our rooms in the old Spanish colonial district of El Hatillo, a township of villas and abundant trees bounded by the Guara River and a series of mountainous peaks to the north. I went down to the river. I hiked up one of the smaller peaks. I yearned to go exploring, but my master needed my aid. After our long journey, he was thoroughly exhausted, so I spent the evening ensuring he was rested and well fed. Passepartout, he murmured softly, but said no more, merely nodding. Relations with Fogg have strengthened slightly. It's our last leg. We boarded another Anhinga for Port-au-Prince, and I made sure to strap myself firmly into the leather seats before we took off. A round of canasta, an excellent idea. Those playing cards were the most beneficial item I could have ever bought. Monsieur Fogg peered over the side of the Caribbean Sea far below. "Can you understand Haitian Creole?" he asked. I nearly fell out of my seat in surprise. My eyes narrowed in suspicion. My master asking a question about our destination? It was quite unprecedented. "Why do you wish to know, monsieur?" I asked as politely as possible. "Answer the question, Passepartout." "I can understand it." He said, "then perhaps I will also be able to, as I have some facility with French." "Of course you will be able to, monsieur," I lied comfortingly. Monsieur Fogg possessed the facility of all well-educated, disinterested English gentlemen with French, which is to say, not very much at all. I was only glad he did not attempt to maul my native tongue with any great frequency. "I have noticed that some linguistic facility of use when negotiating prices and exploring one's options," he remarked coolly. Yes, it is rather. I can take care of all of that for you, monsieur," I replied quickly, rather shocked by the revelation that my master had only just noticed that languages were quite useful upon a round-the-world journey. Monsieur Fogg said nothing else but the matter for the rest of our passage to Port-au-Prince, but it did rather set me to wondering what other obvious notions had yet to occur to my otherwise formidable employer. Not that it's gonna help us any. What's gonna happen when we reach day 80 and we're not back home? Is it going to... like, does the game just end? Haiti had the distinction of being the only nation in the world established as a result of a successful slave rebellion. Nearly 70 years before, the slaves and free people of color of Saint Dominique had revolted against their French masters. Perhaps one of my ancestors had been a slave owner? Here, or in France's other colonies, it was more than possible. The thought left me with a deep sense of unease. As for Haiti, the nation had progressed beyond anyone's wildest imaginings in the last 10 years, spreading its influence across South America and the Caribbean. The source of Haiti's newfound wealth was evident on the streets. It was a success story and a warning to those who would try to threaten Haiti's hard-won independence. Their living animal automatons, the Zenimoto, were functional, but also a formidable force. I looked up at the giant birds, which carried up to 4 passengers thanks to the bone and wood extensions grafted onto their wings. Instead of copper and iron, Haitian automata were made from organic materials: bone, bright coral, pale wood. I had never seen such creations before. I looked for the Artificers Guild. I asked a little girl. No, we're going to look for the Artificers Guild, but found no evidence of an outpost in Port-au-Prince. Surely the guild knew that Haiti was flouting its law. I would not leave Haiti with Zenimoto. I wanted nothing to do with them. I returned to my lodgings empty-handed. and none the wiser about Haitian Zenemoto. As we lay down to sleep, Monsieur Fogg murmured, "Today is the day 80, Passepartout. We have failed." Indeed. "This changes nothing, however," he added. "We must still return home, and as fast as possible." So the game keeps going. I took a few hours to explore, discovering the ways in which we might continue. Ponta Delgada, Zenemoto. Oh, the ticket price is more than we can pay. Physically demanding air gear set is what we need. Can I sell anything that's not the air gear set in the market real quick? Our money got real low. Our conveyance was a bird Zenemoto with an enormous carapace of treated wood and living coral. I introduced myself to it before mounting, doing my best to pretend it was a horse rather than a hybrid living automaton with glowing red eyes. Gotta keep your health up, sir. It's a long journey. The creature took us high into the air. We had flown before, of course, but never I had been so aware of the height, and it was more exciting than an airship. To be borne up into the sky by a creature which beat its wings and shrieked with the pleasure of the hunt, and I had no real complaints until Zenemoto abruptly stilled and plummeted towards the water as if chasing down the last slivers of fading sun reflected in the ocean. What is wrong with it?" I demanded in shrill alarm, though no one answered. A moment later, the creature tucked its wings and landed on the surface of the water gracefully. "Zoutalors, we are floating!" "He is a living bird still, Monsieur Durac," our navigator told me in lecturing tones. "He has carried us far today, and like all God's creatures, he has earned his rest." This is a creature of man, not God. Will we simply float all night?" I shivered. "The currents work in our favor, and it is pleasant to sleep suspended in the ocean. My friends, I do not know if birds snore, but let me assure you that the birds Zenemoto certainly do. Great rattling, whistling snores that reverberate off a still ocean like a bellows." I found it curiously soothing and slept soundly all night. Alright, we're going to be more focused on keeping your health up, sir. The Zenemoto launched at dawn in a flurry of wood and coral wings, spraying us generously with seawater. Wake up! It's a beautiful morning," called Monsieur Dulac, grinning like a fool. "Why are you, monsieur, not captain? Do not shout at Monsieur Fogg," I hissed. "He is not used to such clattering awakenings." "Well," interjected my master, "I am certainly growing more used to them. You will find London quite dull after all this. You must long for the quietude of London, monsieur." I declared. "I doubt it will be quiet if you are still in my employ, Passepartout," Monsieur Fogg murmured. I still cannot decide if his remark was a compliment or a thinly veiled insinuation of incompetence. Relations with Fogg have strengthened slightly. It began to storm halfway through the night, and the Zenemoto took into his head to take off into the rain-soaked gale rather than enduring being tossed about on the ocean swells. I held on for dear life, feeling the coral of the Zenemoto's carapace cut into my palms. It was warm to the touch, like living flesh, and I could feel the creature shudder every time the sky flashed with lightning. I have never been more graceful to see a patch of trees and dirt jutting up from the ocean. We made a clattering mess of landing, but I leapt upon the solid ground and kissed the sweet earth, feeling like Noah after the great flood if his ark had been a terrified beast rather than a sensible vessel of comfortingly dead wood. We had only just managed to make it to Ponta Delgada. I don't think I need any of this stuff, and I don't think I can afford it. We're really hurting for money right now. Let's explore. Ponta Delgada was the largest settlement in the volcanic island of São Miguel in the Azores. Delicate pewter automata, harvested fruit. From the abundant orangeries, watched over by Portuguese gentlemen farmers in the pristine white villas. Monsieur Fogg, of course, took in the pleasant environs with one cursory glance and bent his head to his almanac. Our wager is finished. Why don't we rest here? We have come so far, I marveled. I can scarcely believe it. My master looked up from his note-taking briefly. We are not in London yet, he said primly. Find out when the next airship to Lisbon departs. A practical suggestion. Time and time again, I had seen the prudence of Monsieur Fogg's approach. I paused to breathe in the scent of citrus on the way to the harbor. It lingered in my nostrils for days, long after we had departed the Azores. How much money do we need to get to London? 7,300 pounds. This is 100 pounds. It was with heavy heart that I watched the sun go down. 80 days had come and gone, and here we were, still marking time and not yet home. We need money, so I'm gonna help the kitchen staff. A whopping 59 pounds. Well, Lisbon is the cheapest way to go, so. We were given a gyrocopter ride to Lisbon by one of the local gentleman farmers. Monsieur Coutinho grew oranges and corn, but my real passion, Senhorse, is poetry. Greetings, monsieur. Ah, it is a pleasure to fly with someone so cultured. What can you tell me about Lisbon? Some people say Lisbon is linked to London aboard the Madre de Deus, but the fare is extortionate. Yeah. Let's just work our way down, left to right. I don't know where any of these places are. Is it possible to go from Lisbon to Tangier? Seems unlikely to me, but now, have you ever written a novel? No. I have not, no. I think your adventures would make an excellent tale. Is there a route from Lisbon to Marrakesh? Seems unlikely to me. What about to Nassau? I must go, it is late. You are boring me. Did you know, remarked Monsieur le Pilot, that Antero de Quentel was born in Ponta Delgada, only 2 streets from my own birthplace? I know very little of Portuguese poetry. I do not know de Quentel. I dislike poetry. I do not know de Quentel. I admitted he mostly writes sonnets. I am a great admirer, but I must admit I prefer the modernite of Baudelaire and Rimbaud to the current taste of romanticism. And you? I thought for a moment. Baudelaire, for he understands Paris. Verlaine, for he knows the pull of the unfamiliar. Actually, I'm a devotee of Swinburne. I don't know any of these people, but I'll pick the middle one. Verlaine, for he knows the pull of the unfamiliar. I closed my eyes. French. Monsieur Coutinho translated. I have seen sidereal archipelagos and islands whose delirious skies are open to the sea, wanderer. Yes, I could see why it appeals. The gyrocopter began to bank as I saw the coastline on the horizon. Lisbon rose up along a gentle hill, a city of gaslit whitewashed buildings, church spires, and snaking tramways set on the Iberian Peninsula. We're gonna have to go to the bank. Which is not open. It's Sunday, it's a Monday. That will be useful. I don't have anything else really of value. Oh, that doesn't help me any. But I see the appeal. There's lots of different ways you can go about reaching the goal in the game. Lots of places to go, lots of educational facts. Shall we explore if that does anything? In Lisbon, we sat down to lunch at a charming little restaurant with views across the Iberian coastline. The Mater Hotel came over to our table as the waiter brought our aperitifs. Senors, he cried, wringing his hand, I have a great favor to ask. Well, ask it already, man. I am sure we can accommodate you. We were just leaving. Well, ask it already, man, I replied, my stomach rumbling ominously. My foolish brother, what a trial he is to our dear mother, has made a grave error. We have 2 guests without a table. The maitre d' looked anguished. Could we possibly impose upon you, senors, and add 2 to your number? Of course you may, I declared, without glancing at my master. He offered no comment, obviously trusting to my instincts on the matter. The maitre d' ushered a top-hatted English gentleman and his dapper Prussian valet to our table. We are strange mirrors of each other. I did not rate the cut of the Prussian's jacket. We were strange mirrors of each other, though Monsieur Fogg and I clearly comprised the superior, more handsome image. Our masters greeted each other and made the particular sort of upper-class small talk which forms a gentle background murmur to a servant's ears. Meanwhile, the Prussian valet introduced himself as Diedrich and gave a hearty sniff as our appetizers were served. I hope the food is up to Her Montgomery standards, he remarked. Her Montgomery is very particular. So is Monsieur Fogg, I insisted. He is the most exacting master. Oh, he cannot be as exacting and precise as my own master, Diedrich insisted with horrible glee. Why, he is a fiend for detail. We gave each other a look, the sort of look 2 generals might exchange, the poisonous note that 2 generals might exchange, across a corpse-strewn battlefield. I decided to make an innocuous inquiry and asked what the monsieurs were doing in Lisbon. Ah, well, the thing is, my master and I, Diedrich paused to chuckle to himself, we are traveling around the world. You, I spluttered, you're traveling around the world? Yes, Diedrich nodded with satisfaction and leaned closer. For a wager. No, I shook my head in horror. That cannot be. Indeed, Diedrich continued implacably, we are heading to Tangier tomorrow, and from there to South America and across the Pacific. West instead of east, I mumbled as though in a dream. Diedrich ignored me loftily. And what, he asked with an awful courtesy, are you and your master doing in Lisbon? We are also traveling around the world, I told him churlishly, and could not resist adding, my master and I went the sensible way and are nearly back to London. Monsieur Montgomery looked up from his plate, his eyes cool and remote. What a remarkable coincidence, he remarked without expression. Quite, my master responded. Let us give you some advice. And that was that. We're done talking. We all took our leave with awful echoing politeness, and I made sure to give Diedrich a warning look when he bowed smartly to Monsieur Fogg, pressed Diedrich's hand with particular firmness. I think we understood each other, valet to valet. You seem discomfited, Passepartout, my master remarked with the barest hint of a smile. I do not like that Diedrich, I said. He had a thieving, unctuous look about him. I would not be surprised if he was a fraudster and duping that poor Monsieur Montgomery into keeping him as a valet. I crossed my arms. What sort of a name is Diedrich, anyway? Passepartout, Monsieur Fogg said, with a small sigh in his voice. You are a man of remarkable depths. Well, we can afford the hotel one last time, and then we have to go to the bank. Another night passed, another mark on our calendar, another nail in the coffin of Monsieur Fogg's wager. Before the night ended, I afforded my master every service. I ran a few errands for the hotelier. We've strengthened our relations. It's Monday. The bank opens at 11 a.m. We're gonna have to wait because... Can I fast forward a little bit? Monsieur Fogg snapped shut his ledger. Let us see if this bank can offer us a good return for our time. I regarded the bank as we entered. It was a small affair, but efficiently looked after, and we were quickly seen to. You want to make a withdrawal? The manager asked. You may have to wait a day or 2. We require £1,500, I said. The manager nodded. I will have to communicate with London first, of course, she apologized. I should have a reply in 2 working days. It seems, Monsieur Fogg remarked as we left, we have some time to dispose of. Return to the bank on Wednesday to collect your funds. Nothing I want in the market. We need to save £100 for the hotel. We made ourselves comfortable for the night, and I spent a few hours polishing shoes in the lobby. Okay, good. We can afford one more night in the hotel. With what remained of the day, I afforded my master every service. His health is pretty good. Let's help the kitchen staff real quick. Alright, cannot afford another day. So I see where you can still get money from the bank, but it costs you days and time. That's a neat mechanic. Definitely you have to be very particular in your time and resource management with this game. We returned to the bank at opening time to collect our funds, and then we were ready to proceed once more. So let's make a plan. Oh, we didn't even need that much. I feel so dumb. All right, one more day. I could have left a day early. I feel so dumb. As night fell, I attended to Monsieur Fogg, ensuring he was comfortable. I want to make sure he's looking his best when we get to London. Let's go! We left Lisbon aboard the Madre de Deus, an old Taurus Quevedo airship with a belly full of Algarve oranges and early season cherries. The smell of ripe fleshed fruit would no doubt tantalize me, but even such a juiciness could not turn my eyes from the prize. Barring storms, side winds, pirates, fires, explosions, escaped criminals, or any other such, London was now finally within our reach. Adventurer Fogg expected back shortly. Monsieur Fogg looked out the observation deck windows with perfect calm. Though the wager was lost and was no doubt ruined, I watched him closely for fear he might do something drastic. I spent the remaining time watching every possible danger, ironing, embarking on the writing of this account. Watching every possible danger, one eye on the crew, the other on the ship, ready to react at the slightest trouble, but nothing broke the peacefulness of our day. We tethered at the airship dock in Hyde Park, and felt for the first time in 87 days the feel of English soil underneath our toes. At long last, we had returned to London. Return. Phew! I hailed one of the steam carriages idling on the banks of the Serpentine in Hyde Park. To the Reform Club, I instructed. My master shook his head. To Savile Row, he corrected calmly, and turned his face to the window. I have most assuredly lost my wager. Soot and fog thickened the yellow light of the gas lamps as we drove through the streets of London. I searched for some words of comfort for my master. I think I only truly grasped the truth of the matter then. Hearing those words in my master's uninflected tones, we had lost the wager, and by only a handful of days. One fewer delay, one speedier journey, and we might well have returned to London glorious and triumphant, rather than ignominy. My master entered his domicile with his habitual tranquility, though he instructed me to leave the windows shut up so that his neighbors would not mark his return. I prepared his supper, and he ate heartily as if he were not utterly ruined. Passepartout, he began. Yes, Monsieur Fogg? The silence that followed, I counted up. The vast sums expended, the hair's breadth escape. The vast sums expended, all the obstacles which we had to overcome, those which had delayed us. You have performed your duties with competence and skill, Passepartout, he said, as though remarking upon the weather. But more importantly, you have circumnavigated the globe as my companion. Despite the unfortunate protraction of our journey, he added, it was no small feat. And what will you do now, monsieur? I asked, trying to emulate my master's coolness and aplomb. My course, Passepartout, Monsieur Fogg interjected smoothly. It is fully decided upon. We must attempt the journey around the world once more. Once more, I cried. Indeed, Monsieur Fogg said implacably, an intent light glinting in his cold blue eyes. But this time, forewarned and better prepared, we will succeed. Yes, monsieur. I nodded smartly, glad I had not bothered to unpack our cases. Monsieur Fogg consulted his ledger and tapped his pen. Perhaps this time, he said thoughtfully. Avoiding the Amazon entirely? Your journey around the world is complete. Adventurer Phileas Fogg loses wager. Fogg blames kidnap by Madras nuns, sinking airship off the coast of Singapore, and failed mutiny en route to San Francisco for 87-day journey. There's 169 cities. We traveled over 3,200 miles. We rode a lot of airships. We're so much money in debt. Oh, wow. Well, that's it. I'm done playing this game for you two. I'll leave a link to the Steam page in the description. It was a relatively inexpensive game. I really enjoyed the choose your own adventure aspect of it. We were delayed by a week. I do see where I could have improved. I'm willing to go for this again in my own time. I think it's doable, but I don't know what it means to go around the world. Like, do you have to hit a certain number of cities? Do you have to, or countries? Do you have to go to every continent? What are the requirements? Do you just need to find the shortest path around the globe to get back to London? That's a lot of questions, but that's going to conclude this playlist. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're still here, if you enjoyed my very rapidly speed talking, I think this is the most I've ever talked in any game, or ever in my whole life, maybe. But thanks again for joining me. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Maybe in the comments, leave me suggestions for some other little quirky games that you enjoy that you think I might also enjoy. But anyway, as always, I hope to see you next time. Bye!